It is the whole gamut of species, of beings that have been written about through all of history, mythology, the mystic texts. They are all the ETs. A lot of them are here, is what I'm saying. View the extraterrestrial races as all of the mystical beings. Those are the ETs. And we are them as well. This is going to go far out there for people to understand. But I know that when this place was made, this whole construct was made, so was every single being, species, entity was also made as well. It was all preset, ready to go. I know that this year is going to be big. You know that, yeah? Well, you have the banking systems basically on the brink of collapse because of the Federal Reserve printing all this money. You have gold and silver going up because they're actually putting the power back into people's hands. And so you have all of the control systems that they used for enslaving humanity falling down. This all lines up perfectly to what I've been showing from 16 and everything that I've been showing. So it's like everything is a catalyst at this point in this year where it's going to be all of the disclosures on the major fronts from the extraterrestrial races. First, it's going to be all the disclosure with the financial system, and people are going to be freed in that sense first, because the whole financial system is what has kept people enslaved. That's their main control system, because what they've done all throughout the generations is they slowly taken away all of these resources from the people. They've done it through creating the false means of currency. But they've also done it through even the basic necessities of life, through housing. People think it's normal that you have to pay to live in a house. That's a normal thing. Oh, it's normal. I need to pay my rent. I need to do this. That's not normal at all. That's very sick, actually, because that's a basic necessity for human survival. And so that, with the many systems all throughout America, all throughout the whole realm that we live in, you're seeing that all these systems are actually being exposed and shown to people, especially this year. What's taking place for a lot of people at the moment with these systems is to wake them up, not you, to put a little bit of pressure where it's needed so they could just see. Oh, wow. So you're telling me the whole time that through all of the exposure, that a lot of the food that we eat and a lot of the fruit that we eat actually is genetically modified? Wait a second. What's going on here? And then that cracks open for them to be fully empowered, because they need to come to the realization themselves so that they are equal to every single soul here as it is on the other side. And then every single person here is fully empowered. Fully empowered. From the physical, mentally, and spiritually as well. When it comes to also races as well, there are many different races that, as I've stated, are here. Races are actually still here. You have, to give you a list, you have giants. That's a race. You have what you would call extraterrestrial races. Those are races. You have angels. Now, people would say, okay, well, the angel is a biblical being. That's not an extraterrestrial race. That's not an ET. It actually is. They come from the levels within this reality, this creation. They are races. A lot of the UFOs that people think that they see are actually angels operating within their physical craft. Their body is the craft. And they have shown and documented this through images, drawings, all throughout history too, where you'll see that certain beings came from the sky and stars. It was like this light craft. Those are the angels. Angels are extraterrestrials, what we're referring to. You have what is also people refer to as reptilian races. They are also races of beings that exist here. You have races that look very identical to humans that are not humans. Some of them have different genetics where they're slightly taller. They come from the second kingdom within this creation, the second realm, or what have you. You have a lot of elemental beings. You have what they do in Chinese texts and also all throughout Roman texts, how they talk about dragons as well. That's an extraterrestrial race that is highly, highly intelligent. They also speak. You have what is called pixies or fairies. All of these mystical beings that we think are not real are all part of the extraterrestrial races. When people think of extraterrestrial races, they just think of gray aliens or Pleiadians, and that's it. But it is the whole gamut of species, of beings that have been written about through all of history, mythology, the mystic texts. They are all the ETs. A lot of them are here, is what I'm saying. People have even seen them. Mermaids are also part of that extraterrestrial race. And the mermaids are actually a real thing. They are here within the oceans. It's already been documented. There's a documentary on this. So view the extraterrestrial races as all of the mystical beings. Those are the ETs. And we are them as well. We are them because some of us don't even come from here in terms of this physical place that we're at. Some of these bodies, some genetics actually tie back into other kingdoms within this creation, this construct. I know this is going to go far out there for people to understand, but I know that when this place was made, this whole construct was made, so was every single being, species, entity was also made as well. It was all preset, ready to go. You could say, think about it as the beginning of this was trying to think of a universal game that everybody knows. A lot of people have kids, so I'm going to say Minecraft. When you view the construct as a PlayStation, that's the construct. Minecraft, that CD or whatever you place inside that console, has everything already pre-written and already made. And when we step into this creation that we're in, everything has already been preset. And this is why we even go back to, this may seem off topic, but like I said before, even the freedom of all humanity is preset because it's already preset within the game. So we weren't necessarily seeded by extraterrestrial races. We were seeded from ourselves, from the other side, making this. And through the game of this life, Earth life that we live, yes, we have crossbred genetics and stuff like that. And that's where all of these seedings and genetics and stuff like that have been at play. But it was already preset. Everybody will eventually know that all of these races are real. We, even as human beings, and them, we all knew each other in the past. We all knew each other. This is why you go back into history where angel-like beings or extraterrestrial races, let's just say grays, and it's actually drawn in certain texts on certain buildings, how they drew this out. You'll see through history, they have already communicated with us and we were communicating with them. So this forgetfulness process of forgetting who they are is more recent than what people realize. You know, this is where you go into what they call the Great Flood or the Great Reset. This is where we go into that type of history where things were forgotten, the lost history. But we knew these races in the past and they knew us. Nothing was extraterrestrial about it. It was just, you are this and we are that. And we are all one. With revealing of certain races, yes, it does come freedom for people. Because in revealing those races is also revealing the truth of certain things that I'm bringing up here in this conversation. For instance, we already have free energy available for every single person here. There's a patent system that if you end up making something that is classified as could be used for war or something like that for the military, or could be used against governments or weapons, etc., that it never gets revealed to people. It's actually buried and stolen. But there's many different patents out there that has been so suppressed that give free energy to people. You know, you look into replicating food. A lot of people have seen this in like Star Trek or whatever, how they could replicate food. That's not far out there in terms of of what's actually the technology that actually exists within these races, and also what was here before as well. A lot of the technology, even for healing the body, is based off of sound resonance, light frequency, different lights and sound resonance, somatic frequencies. And you'll begin to realize, okay, well, if the technology is based off that as well to even heal and reverse a lot of the things within the body, like even the age of the body, because aging is classified as a disease. So scientifically, it is a disease, meaning it's not normal. It's a disease, which can be cured. A disease can be cured through many different means, but I'll leave it there. But you'll realize, okay, well, if the advanced technology that a lot of these, what people call ET races have for themselves to heal themselves, is based off of light, frequency, sound. Our physical body is already light, frequency, sound, and it's also based off our will as well. We are the technology also. The worst thing to do would be to reveal themselves, and then all of a sudden we look up to them as something greater than us. The best thing to do would for them to be slowly trying to awaken people to themselves so that they are the very power as it once was in the past. So what people hear of non-interference, that's not what I've seen at all taking place. I've seen things, the very other side itself, and many different races of beings all interfering in a positive direction to bring freedom to all of humanity. This is a 100% certainty that the freedom of all humanity is going to happen. That's written in stone. That's been written even before you came here. It was preset into this creation, where it's freedom is always going to be fulfilled. It always is, because freedom is love, and home is love and freedom. And so that love and freedom is coming here for everybody, like they have done through mainstream media, through influencing certain narratives. You could sway that time event from being so. You could sway it in terms of delaying it or taking it off into a direction where you're going in this direction and it's slightly off course. But no matter what, that freedom for all humanity hits. It doesn't matter what they do in terms of the mainstream media or news stations or other influences of fear-based narrative stuff to influence humanity. It doesn't matter what's going on there. Just ignore all that stuff and know that the freedom for everybody is coming. It's greater than what anybody could ever. Well, it's actually greater than what I could even imagine myself. You know, because it's the full divinity of everybody remembering who we are en masse. People think that this is just a big bang and it's an accident, but none of this was an accident. All of this from the other side, from outside of this known universe, this known construct that was created, was never an accident. It was perfectly designed. Even the physical bodies were perfectly designed to access everything within this universe. We, the physical vessel, was perfectly crafted based off this very creation. We literally are. So we're trying to search for other star systems, other galaxies, all these things. But we are all of that within ourselves. The moment that you turn within yourself, you'll see that you have access to everything within this creation. And you could go to everywhere within this creation by traveling within yourself. This is the ultimate vehicle. So when people misunderstand that this is not created and it is an accident, then that takes you away from the design of who you are, the perfection of who we are, the perfection of this place and what can be done. Because when you move into that system of an accident, then all of a sudden you make scarcity. There is a limited supply. The sun's going to die. The resources of this earth is going to vanish. And all of that is nonsense. It's not true. Because this whole creation is infinite. It's infinite. The design of this place is an infinite supply. It's never limited. We, man, have put limits on this place through our thought forms, creating all of these artificial means of limitation. But there's no limit. There's even no limit on the physical body, but we put belief on the physical body to even give it limits because we forget how powerful we are. So when you look at it as an accident, you turn into a limited being, and also you view this entire universe as limited itself, and that the resources are very scarce. This whole creation works on a toroidal field, and it's free energy, infinite. It's an infinite loop. And it's only born from the love from the other side. Who we are is infinite and it's eternal. And this whole place was made from that eternal aspect of us. Our bodies operate in a toroidal field. Our whole soul that's connected through this physical body is operating in this toroidal field, this infinite supply of energy. In the past, we didn't even need to eat, per se, because the soul was fueling this physical vessel. And that may be very hard for people to understand because they're like, well, we have organs, we need to eat, we need to do this. But I ask you this question, and maybe to ponder on this. Everything that we eat is compressed light from the sun. So let's go into the first stage. The sun shining, on the trees, and then through the light from the sun, the trees bear fruit, and through the soil, etc. Then we pick that fruit, we eat that. That fruit is just a condensed version of light. And sometimes people don't even eat fruit. What happens is then animals start eating the vegetation from the energy from the sun that's actually giving this vegetation, to produce. And then the animals eat that, and then we kill the animal to eat the meat of the animal, which is still condensed light, even further condensed light. What is light? Light is who we are. It's our soul. We are the light. Everybody is a light of all of creation. We are from the other side. The sun is the light from the other side too. So what we're actually doing when we're eating just compressed light. And in the past, we were our own infinite supply of light through activating the whole toroidal field within the physical body through the soul, full connection with no distortions. And we were heaven's reflection here, walking within this physical creation. Some people do make the choice to come back, but it's never something that you are forced. It's never a forceful thing of you've done this, so therefore now you must learn your lesson and go back to what they call the earth school. That is not the way it is, because to do that, think about where that puts you, and everything that I've said before, where that places you as a soul is something that is lesser than, and therefore not the ultimate authority on the other side, just like every other soul. And that makes you subservient to another soul, having dominion over you and control over you to put you in a position of where you don't want to be. And you cannot have ultimate expression of freedom with a limitation. And that in and of itself is a limitation. So it's always of your choice to come back or not. And even if you don't, because a lot of souls do not, they can resolve those things on the other side, fully and completely. Because I know there is a lot of people that genuinely feel that if they don't get an A plus here, that they're going to be forced back here. And think about where that energy signature derives from, which is fear itself. And fear is born from loss, and loss is not love itself. Because there is no loss in love. In terms of nothing is ever lost. Even if you physically die, a loved one dies, that person is never lost because he still is on the other side, or she is on the other side. So when you look at the beginning of what I've talked about, fear has even dripped into spirituality and awakening. There's nothing that you should ever be afraid of. Nothing. In terms of you believing that you're going to be forced back here. You're never forced back here. Don't put yourself into that, or anybody put themselves into that fear way of thinking, because that is I'm going back. If I was in that mindset based off what I know, and that's very depressing and compressing, limiting on the soul, where then that soul feels controlled here physically. I got to do good, and to do good, they're very tense. They're afraid to do anything because they're afraid that's going to be the wrong move, or this, I may be forced back here if I do this. And it's a very controlled way of thinking, and control itself is not love. Think about what love is. Love, the core of it is freedom. And you could say the highest version of freedom is authenticity. Authenticity is freedom. You being free to do and be yourself. Authenticity, the highest version of love and freedom. In freedom, there is no control. There's no constraints. And that thought process comes with a lot of constraints, control, confinement, which is not freedom, therefore it's not love. You'll find this. Who are the they is us. It 100% is us. It's us doing it to ourselves. But we also have when you look at, let's pull this back to the ultimate truth of things, like the behind the curtain. So not just trying to view the 3D expressions of who the they are, because the they are you could say the banking system, governmental systems, everybody that is trying to control you and indoctrinate you in a fear-based way is all the they physically. But when you go behind the curtains, you open the curtains, what you'll see is, yes, it's us, but it's also certain beings like us that are putting thought forms, their energy, their will, thought forms into this physical manifestation. So the best way to understand this even further, when you die, or you have a controlled out of body state, near-death experience, you'll see that what you think, let's just say if I'm thinking of a devil with horns, okay? That's a scary thought forms. I'm thinking that here right now. And if I put a lot of energy into that thought form, when I leave my body, I will see that. So thought forms are physical manifestations that we can't physically see due to the access that we have to the light spectrum. But if we were to increase our physical energy within our body to see beyond the physical limitations of the light spectrum, you would see my thought form as a physical manifestation. So you have a lot of individuals in fear, outside of love, creating, manifesting all of these thought forms, negative spirits within this field of all things. And those spirits, the more you give energy to it, can be like these living, conscious, fully aware type beings, because you're giving life to it. You, the soul, is giving life to that thought form itself, making it. And the more that a collective souls give life to a thought form, you could say that thought form, that energy frequency that we can't perceive, can also influence the energetic field of this whole place based off what we're thinking. Thoughts influence a lot of things within this place but we just can't see it. But Many people would say, oh, they, let's hate them. Hate them, let's shame them, all those things. But when you start hating them, which is also us and negative spirits, thought forms, you're actually stepping out of love. Because love wouldn't condemn or hate something. It would only give it love and pull it up. Now, what's interesting with this is, let's just say, to give context as well, a lot of the music industry, people within the music industry, they actually participate in the rituals to create a thought form. And, all this is where you go into selling your soul and a lot of stuff, but it's not necessarily true in that way. But they put these thought forms into the field of energy, into the music, to project into what people are listening to, and they can influence them that way. But when you start sending love to even the energy thought form that a soul made, what you do is you then send a ripple back to the very source that created it, which is the soul that thought it to begin with. So when you hate the thought form, when you hate the negative spirit, you actually give it more power. Because what you're saying is that a thought form is more powerful than the soul that made it. And that's not true. A spirit in a thought form is not more powerful than the soul. The soul is the infinite. It is what gives life to everything, even the thoughts and the spirits themselves. So the quickest way to change that is to send love to everybody. Send love to the they themselves, the physical expressions of the they in the physical form. Send love to even their energetic signature thought forms that they're projecting into the field of all things. And even that will ripple back to them. And to even back this up further, I remember being in fear for such a long time related to this stuff. And I was afraid that something could kill me, touch me. And I realized that a lot of these things, because of that fear, were my thought forms creating boogeymans in my field, attacking me, thinking that I could be touched. And there was a time, and I explained this many times, where I said, I don't care anymore. Kill my soul. I don't care. Because I'm tired of feeling like I'm coming out of my body, like I'm dying. And I got to the point where I said, I just don't care anymore. And I realized that then, as soon as I had that feeling within myself that I don't care, nothing was able to touch me. And then I realized nothing could touch or entrap your soul unless you believe it to be so, because you, the soul, is connected to the infinite. You give life and power to everything in your creation. Everything that you give energy to, you give life to. You can manifest things within this physical reality once you understand that this physical reality is not just the limitations of that 1% of that light spectrum frequency that we can only see. The moment you think of something, it is already a physical manifestation, already within your field. As soon as you come out of the body, you'll see it. So how do you bring that into physical reality? Well, I ask you this as well. Isn't everything that we are experiencing now, everything from the computers to the house, did it not come from a thought form? And then that thought form, with the person that thought it, to put energy in walking in that direction to make it, even though someone may have said it's impossible. I don't believe anything is impossible. I believe when people say it's impossible, it's only due to the belief that it's impossible, which makes it impossible to begin with. I believe that everything that we think of, everything that we could possibly imagine, is possible. And I know that they've taken people so far out of that belief in themselves to make them doubt everything, to make it impossible and make us lesser constantly, focusing just on this physical body, focusing on just the limitations of what we think are limitations, when there was never any limitations put on us to begin with, but our own thought forms to give those thought forms power for us to be limited. Many people have had experiences where they automatically, they're struggling with something in their life, and then automatically they come to a point where they shift drastically within themselves. They change within themselves. And then all of a sudden, that which they were trying to access or see or achieve, automatically a door opens up. And they're like, wow, that's not what I was expecting to happen. This entire creation will bend to you once you start doing things in the highest frequency of love. Once you start doing that, this reality will start to bend to you, because now you are singing the same language as the very other side. And on the other side, everything is possible in that language of love, in that music of love. Everything's possible because everything's free. On the other side, there's never a limitation placed on you or in your mind to believe that there's a limitation. It's only here. So when you start singing the language of love, getting back into the rhythm of the language of love, you'll realize you start thinking much like a child, that there's possibilities everywhere. And I can, and I can, and I can, and I can, instead of saying to yourself, I can't. I can't. I'll try, but maybe. Go back into freedom. Love is truth, and truth is love, and love is also freedom as well. Go back into freedom, and you'll find when you're in that frequency of freedom, anything's possible. And if we could keep in that thought process, everything will be possible. The reason why life is the way it is now is because we are all in a certain frequency of thought form, thinking that things are not possible, so therefore they're not. I have, like many people, have experienced the absolute extremes in this physical reality. From where I am now to that contrast. And I could tell you this, if I did not have the connection, the understanding that I have, love the other side, then I would be forever lost. I would have viewed that experience as much more hellish than not having that connection. The thing is, once you are in an experience where trauma has been done, think about what happens on the other side. Let's just go to the behind the curtain, not just the physical. So that individual will go to the other side and realize, okay, well, they are forgiven. Also, the other person is forgiven too. And they step back into this abundance of love again. From the other side, freedom, forgiveness of self and others. That's what's done. Now, in that love state, you could, even in the most densest places, the pockets of this creation, you could still bring light to it and heaven to it. I actually want to go back to when I was around 17, 18 years old to give perspective to this. I wanted to travel the world. I had no means to do it. I had no money to do it. Nothing. But I desired to travel the world. I wanted to get out of the situation that I was in. And that situation is I was in America, living in Pennsylvania, and I didn't really like it. I didn't like that place. I knew that there was somewhere else in life that I could be, and I wanted to be there. It was everything that I wanted to do was to travel. I was in what you would call an environment where we didn't have money at all. But I made the choice, and it's a choice that you have to make and everybody has to make. At that point in my life, I made a choice. I grabbed my book bag, put it on at $2,000, maybe $2,000 and a bit, but $2,000. I pulled it all out of my bank account. An opportunity was presented to me to go to LA and do a film thing. But there was really nothing else in terms of security that I had. And this is why I said the creation speaks to everybody. If you're willing to walk through the door is open, but if you're willing to walk through it in love, then you will be supported. My whole thing, when I decided to walk through that door from where I was with $2,000, I was in a place within myself where I had the experience with Celeste from 16. I was such in this love space. I was like, you know what? If love is the answer, then love will support me no matter what I do. And I just got on a one-way ticket that was paid. Someone paid it to go to LA. To make a long, long story very condensed, that one trip led me to, from LA, going all the way back down to traveling through an RV all the way to Mexico, Florida, back up to New York City. Okay. Then that took me to Australia. Then from Australia to Morocco. Then from Morocco to Norway. Then going from Norway all the way down to the Germany, Spain, Portugal, all through that region. Okay. Then that also took me back to Morocco. And for a whole year and a bit with $2,000, after traveling all of those places, I had 3 cents left to my name. I remember it. 3 cents left to my name. But yet that $2,000 for a full year took me across the world because I was in the state of abundance within myself. There was not one time that I thought in that entire experience, where am I going to get my next food? That scarcity thought process wasn't there because I was so high off of the experiences in my knowing of myself and from the other side that reality started to bend to me. Opportunities started to open up. People, yes, were paying for things, but opportunities were there presented to me to walk that path. And people just need to walk that path when the door is presented to you. Walk through it. Because when you walk through it in love, everything opens up to you. That is an impossible experience to travel across the world with $2,000. Okay, it's an impossible experience to have if you think in the mind the limitations of this. But it's not when you operate in the soul. I remember too, this is another experience. After that, I went to America again. And I was like, okay, well, I need to make some money now. And I flipped, my mind flipped. All right, I need to make some money, back into survival. And everything became difficult. Doors were shutting. It was very hard for me to do anything. It was hard for me to travel again, to go here or go there, because I flipped from abundance to fear and survival, and therefore door shut. I then started to step back into my heart. And I said, okay, well, my heart has led me across the world. Let's do this again. I bought a one-way ticket to Australia. And at that time, I managed to save up $3,000. And I thought process again, stepping out of this back into the heart. One-way ticket to Australia in love, doing things in love. I arrived here. I slept in my car for almost a year and 2 years. Slept in a tree house as well. Okay. I was in a tree house. But in that state, I could have easily flipped into, oh my God, survival. But I knew that everything was going to be fine. And all through that, keeping that thought process, that whole process happened again as it did with the $2,000. Opportunities opened up, doors opened up and I walked through them in love. And now I'm in the place that I am now, which is beautiful. I'm no longer in that situation, but I live in abundance physically only because, and my physical reality is reflecting that, only because I'm living in abundance no matter what the situation is within myself. I don't care. Even if everything was taken away from me in this physical possession life, it was already taken away from me before because I didn't have things. But I would still be living in abundance, and therefore doors would open up and opportunities will open up to me in that love frequency, in that love state of fulfillment, of love. So this is from a place of experience, speaking from it directly, from the impossibility to possibility. That everything that you could possibly think of is possible when you step back into the truth, which is love itself, in that frequency. And forgive yourself and forgive everybody else. And focus on abundance for yourself, and doors will open up. The whole frequency of this entire realm is completely changing for everybody, even because even within our physical bodies, the frequency within our physical bodies are changing dramatically. And with that change of that frequency gives us more access to that light spectrum to see so much more and access so much more of who we are. When we think of these negative things and we go down that train, all we do is we suppress the frequency of love and freedom, and we actually cut ourselves off from accessing more of the light spectrum here physically within this physical body. These physical bodies, they have more access to the highest form of quantum computing. Our brain has more access to in terms of the network that we have. This is the ultimate machine. And it's turning back on for people. It's turning back on. Out of body is just one of the aspects of this. Getting visions when you're not fully out of the body is another aspect of this. Getting access to more of intuitive abilities, telepathy is another thing that's coming on for a lot of people. The thing is, we're moving into a time where nothing is going to be hidden anymore. And everything is free for everybody. And everybody's free to do in freedom, in love. That came from the experience with my Uncle Bob. When I seen him on the other side, I got to the point where when I finally saw my uncle that passed away, I said, okay, well, what could I do? We don't die. We live on forever. So then I come back into this life. So what do I do? I just get a job, or do I just shut up? Or like, what do I do? How do I share this? And then this is where you go into what I've been told, what they consider the great work is on the other side, which is waking everybody up to the other side, because when they wake up to themselves, they wake up to everything. And so that is symbolic to, when you go to court, they say, your right hand or whatever. It's symbolic to that. It's like, okay, this is I'm testifying or whatever, that the other side's real. And also that I agreed to do this. My soul has agreed to do this by even saying, I will do this. But that's what that symbolizes, just truth, integrity, love. It was made by what they call living gold. It's like, it's something that I was, and Eve also shown, that it's something that used to be used in the past within the physical body, living gold. You could drink of it and it helps restructure the whole cells within the body. And so that's why the golden hand is there too, because it represents living gold, which is infinite, like the infinity of things. If someone believes in the Bible, for instance, someone that's really religious, they won't do that. So to me, that's like, okay, let's just speak this. Let's just try to speak the highest level of truth that you could possibly go to, and bring clarity to everything.